Have you ever felt completely exhausted, but realized it wasn't just stress keeping you down? We often treat anger like an enemy, something to be joked away, over-explained, or buried deep under the surface. But what if those feelings aren't meant to be silenced? What if your anger is actually a vital signal from your brain, trying to protect you from injustice and disrespect?
Sometimes our suppressed anger goes into relationships, and that can look like distance because we're avoiding, because we're angry and we don't know how we feel about it. We're not working through it, and so we're just avoiding. Score keeping. Love does not keep score.
That is the hardest truth to swallow that pill whenever you finally admit you're in love.
Today, Chris and Jen are peeling back the layers on why we explode when we try too hard to keep the peace, and how finding empathy for yourself is the first step towards a lighter, happier life. It's time to stop judging your feelings and start listening to what they're trying to tell you. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Chris and Jen in the Morning,
where self-care meets real life. I'm Chris.
And I'm Jen.
And I am so happy that I finally have our intro down.
I am too.
Usually I take a long, awkward pause and wait to say I'm Chris, but I am still Chris. So
you are still Chris and I am still Jen. Although, when is Opposites Day? Because we should totally pretend to be each other.
We totally should. I could get a wig. And then I could show up late because, I would have to blow dry
it for 7 minutes in the humidity without turning any of the bathroom fans on. And then
my bathroom doesn't have a fan, so we're good there.
And then just be sweating and then put on makeup.
Yeah. Although I do think I would show up I would probably not show up as the best version of myself because I don't like being hot. So I may show up a little angry or,
Chris, you're always hot.
Oh, thank you. I think Frank would agree.
So I'm super excited about our conversation today because we want to talk about anger and how we do or don't process it. And is it good? Is it bad? Like, what do we do with it?
Yeah, should we feel it?
Yeah. My premise here is that sometimes the reason you're exhausted is not really stress at all. It's just anger that you never gave yourself permission to feel.
Oh.
Shoving it down.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. So if you're a fan of, I don't know, Disney's Frozen, or, what is the feelings?
Pixar's Inside Out. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Inside Out, yes. Some good icons to imagine in your head as we go through this conversation.
Really, and honestly, like many of our conversations. And if you are new to us, welcome. We're happy to have you. We would love for you to join our community. Jen and I started this podcast because we felt like we were having a lot of conversations about how we kind of get through this day-to-day life with sometimes it not necessarily being so easy to seek and find happiness. So if you are on that journey and are interested in, contributing and being part of that community, please follow, like, subscribe. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can share, subscribe, all of the things. But we want you to be part of the conversation. It's not just Jen and I talking. We want to incorporate all the things that you all have to bring as well.
Yes, absolutely. And before we hop into talking about anger and maybe how we suppress it sometimes, let's talk about gratitude, our regular practice of gratitude. And I'll start. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to go to the Fort Worth Botanical Garden, and they were having this Japanese festival there, and there were just tons of people there with this name tag on that said volunteer. And I just am super grateful for people that choose to volunteer for community events like this. We can support community, and I enjoyed myself getting out, walking around on what might have been the hottest day of the year so far. But it
I
was
mean, we're already almost through April and Texas is like not over 100 degrees yet.
no, it was in the 90s, but the feels like was over 100.
Okay.
It was very hot. My face was quite pink. So I got a little bit of a sunburn, but I put sunscreen on, but also my dear husband followed me around with an umbrella above me to try and protect me from all of the sun.
So I'm
Took pic
guessing adventure mode, Jen, was activated.
Oh, 1,000%. Took pictures of lots of birds and flowers, and there were a ton of cardinals out, so that was like really cool. Um, but it was beautiful, and I just am really appreciative of people that volunteer their time to make these kinds of things possible
Yeah.
because it wouldn't happen without them. So, um, if there are things that you appreciate in the community, maybe think about volunteering and being a part of making it happen. Community is
Yeah.
important.
I mean, I know that I talked about this, I think, a couple of weeks ago, but like it's still been like snaps of cold here. So I think we got like down to the 30s earlier this week. But they have
Not
started
here.
going around. Yeah, you're in Texas. You're done with that weather. We our office moved, so we're no longer like in like the middle of Manhattan. We're more on the east side, but they have gone through over the last couple of weeks and replaced all of the flowers and things throughout the
Oh,
like different public areas with
yeah.
tulips and daffodils, and like it's so springy, and it just like this is one of the reasons I moved to the Northeast, was because I wanted the seasons. I wanted to go through them. I wanted to see, fall in all of its colorful ways. I wanted to experience spring in all of its colorful ways. And it's so nice coming out of, longer, darker days, literally.
Yeah.
And getting to walk out and the sun is still out, and you're seeing all of these fresh flowers that are growing in all of the flower pots and around the trees. Like, it's just so refreshing, and it just reminds me like why I love living in the city so much, because it just you truly get to experience all of the seasons, and I love
Yeah.
that.
I love that too. Well, so what we want to talk about today is how anger is not really the enemy. It's unprocessed anger. And yet, many of us were taught that anger is bad, either directly or sort of subconsciously. And so, it can be referred to as unattractive, as dramatic, as dangerous, as selfish. Anger is often depicted as selfish, and so instead of processing it and then burying, we bury it instead of like processing through it, allowing ourselves to feel it. We bury it down, we joke it away, we over-explain it, we turn it inward, and then it like becomes this thing that eats away at us until one day we just explode.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of negative things that happen as a result of this. So we wanted to talk about that today because, while it's something that I think both of us have had to grapple with at times throughout our lives, I think it's actually a really common thing. And it is something that really does take away from our ability to live our best, happiest, lightest, most enjoyable lives. So let's dig into anger today.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought this up. And I will say, like, as we were preparing for this conversation, I found a lot of like insightful things about myself through through reading through and learning more about this feeling. And I don't know, I kind of even don't like referring to it as a feeling. Like, I don't know if that's just like something that like because we've grown up with it, and it's not like, it almost feels like a bad word that we're not supposed to like acknowledge that we're
Yeah.
angry.
It does sometimes, I think, just depending on how you were brought up. But like, I think sometimes from a religious standpoint, it's like feelings like anger or anxiety or stress or fear are deemed as like bad.
Yeah.
And what the challenge is that when we label our feelings as either good or bad, then we don't allow ourselves to like honor those feelings and process them. We just shove them down, but it
Yeah.
doesn't mean they go away. And so when you bury them, they cause all of these physical problems. They cause challenges in the perspective with which we're viewing things. Um, you know, the, when you're fighting about something, but you're really fighting about something else with the people that you love that hasn't been spoken, it's because you haven't been able to process it through and let go of it. You're still hanging on to it.
I don't understand that at all.
Mhm. I think most of us could relate to that if we're being honest with ourselves. And what you don't work through, and then, in whatever way works for you, move on, you hang on to it and it continues to inform, the things that you think, the things that you do, the choices that you make. And so I think it's really important to start with acknowledging for ourselves that anger is a very real feeling. It
Yeah.
is a very productive feeling in a lot of settings. And we don't need to feel guilty about having anger. It actually serves us really well. Anger is one of those things that protects us. Um, it helps us protect others. It like they're they're it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's how we respond to or react to anger. And when we don't allow ourselves to feel it and process it, that's when we are least prepared to be mindful,
Yeah.
intentional about our response. Because when you shove it all down and then you just blow, those are the times that, at least for me, I feel least proud of the way that I am responding.
Yeah, I kind of go back to September of 2025. Like this conversation kind of takes me back to that place. I think it was actually September 11th. You and I were texting and I was just feeling a lot of feelings. And I remember thinking like one of them was anger and frustration and all like I just remember texting you and you reminded me of the conversation we had around like, feelings are signals and we can't ignore those. Like we need to figure out like what's happening and why are you in this state? And like I can now reflect back on that moment and see like I was angry. Like part of me was frustrated about the conversation that was happening and going on at that
Yeah.
time. Um but so we know that like things happen in our brains, they just like fire off and they go to protect us, right? Like we are here to our brains are here to keep us safe. So what is happening to us in these instances when we are feeling anger?
Yeah. I think anger is one of many emotions. And what we know is that emotions are signals, they are not enemies. They are your brain's way of saying to you, hey, there's something we need to deal with here. Um, it's their signals.
Yeah.
And so if we choose to ignore certain signals because we think they're not appropriate, they're not nice. When I say, like, I close every episode by saying, be kind to yourself. Um, Being kind to yourself is allowing yourself to like validate your feelings.
Yeah.
And it's not about judging whether or not your feelings are okay, because we feel what we feel. And then we are responsible for the way that we respond and react. And we can be less in charge of the way we react when we don't allow ourselves to feel how we feel. So you can be really good at suppressing and ignoring, but that's not being kind to yourself. And one day it's going to catch up with you.
I mean, you
Um,
saying that like just I I feel like I have been on a journey of self-discovery or whatever you want to call it over the last like 8 to 10 years, and I will say just hearing you say that like before I don't know if I would have agreed like expressing anger and saying that and feeling all of those things were the right thing to do, like and I'm using the right as like in quotations. Like was I raised to feel like anger was an okay emotion to express and communicate? Like, I don't know. Like the suppression part, totally identify with that. Like I absolutely did those things and I may still practice some of them.
well, I think that, at least for me, what I was taught was that anger is something you should quickly move on from and move to forgiveness. And I was
Yeah.
taught that forgiveness means saying it's okay. And what I have learned, what I've been working on is understanding that forgiveness does not mean saying something is okay.
Yeah.
It means taking the accountability for what happened and giving it back to the person that should be responsible for it instead of hanging on to it. And that's a concept that, like, I feel like I have not yet found the right words to really let it click within myself. But I think forgiveness means choosing to process through your anger and not holding on to it to let it rot into bitterness. Because not that bitterness is something you should feel guilty about, it's just something that detracts from your ultimate happiness
Yeah.
and ability to enjoy life. So it just, like, be kind to yourself by freeing yourself from bitterness. And what happens is when you're angry and you don't allow yourself to process through that anger because you believe that it's bad for you to feel that anger because you think for some reason you have accountability in whatever you're angry about, or that you don't deserve anything better, or whatever the millions of things are that we tell ourselves to try and, like, w- you know uh push it away. um it's like a that that doesn't, not processing through it, not acknowledging it, not honoring it. You just shove it down somewhere under the layers where it's subconsciously turning into bitterness.
Yeah.
And then that's how it floats back up to the top. So that
In a big way, usually.
once the straw that lands on the top of the haystack and the whole haystack falls down, everything explodes. That's how that happens.
Yeah.
So I think I mixed up a few analogies there, but you get the point.
I
that I'm,
followed. I
you
followed.
get the point that I'm trying to make. So I was having this conversation with my therapist, actually, because I said, like, I'm angry about something, but I also, you know, don't like feeling angry. I prefer to always find peace, and that's something that, you know, is a very complex topic for another day.
Yeah.
But I said, I'm, like, tired of being angry, but I don't want to give up my anger because I don't want to, like, give in to this idea that these things that happened that I'm angry about were okay. And, that's where, we again had this conversation about what forgiveness really is and what it's not. And I think I need a different word for it because to me, it just still means say it's okay. But, what he said was the antidote to anger. He said, first of all, you don't ever have to stop being angry. So I'm not going to tell you that you do. You can be angry as long as you don't ignore that you feel that way. But if you really are tired of being angry and you want to move on from that, the antidote to anger is empathy. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So let's go on this journey. Um, and so often, the antidote to anger is empathy. And why is that? Well, it's because of how our brains are wired. So when you're angry, it activates this threat system in our brain. That amygdala fires up and says, hey, we need to protect somebody else, protect ourselves, whatever. It's scanning for threats, disrespect, injustice, rejection, whatever, applies here. And then if you move yourself to empathy, it engages areas of your brain that are associated with perspective taking and emotional regulation, like that prefrontal cortex. And we know the reason we feel conflicted sometimes is because there are different centers within our brain serving different purposes.
Yeah.
And so it is possible to be both angry and empathetic at the same time. But when you start putting yourself, like, allowing yourself to broaden your perspective of, yes, what happened was wrong, but I can see how somebody else got there. I can see, kind of softens maybe a little bit sometimes. Now, I would say that's not always. First of all, it's not something that you have to do. So if you are believing that you shouldn't be angry and that you should always seek to find empathy, like I think that's not what I'm trying to say. It's a choice about how you want to continue moving forward. And it's not like, oh, if you can find empathy, then you're a better person. That's not what it's about.
Yep.
But if that feels like it's the right path for you, you can do that, but does not mean that it is accepting that the behavior of the other person is okay or
Yeah.
that it excuses it or that you let them off the hook. It's
Uh,
just whether you choose to carry it forward or not.
and I, when I look back at kind of how I have been raised and all of the things, like, I'm not comfortable in this space of anger.
Mm.
Like, it is not where I feel, um, maybe I'm a little bit of a control freak, but I don't like this, like, explosive part. And so I think a lot of times, like, suppressing that and trying to push down my initial reactions and feelings on things to try and find that place of common ground, or I'm not even going to call it empathy, because I don't think a lot of times whenever you're just trying to keep the peace, again using air quotes here, but like I don't think you're truly acknowledging those feelings and why you're in that space. And so it does bring back that when it does come back is this place of anger. Like it is a place of like explosion and expressing yourself in such a way.
Well, so what I think is interesting is like this dichotomy that you're expressing of either suppression or explosion. And, we know that things are a continuum, right?
Very
Um,
true.
Anger does not have to be an explosion. An explosion is a
Right.
response to anger when we don't know how to properly honor and process anger
Right.
because we haven't learned it because we were told it was bad. So you suppress it,
Right.
right? And for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So if you find yourself being triggered and exploding, that might be a sign to how much you're suppressing.
Right. And I think like I have learned more as I've gotten older how to redirect and express those things in a more productive way
Yeah.
versus suppressing it, because that's what I used to do. I absolutely used to do that. And it, like, Frank is the one who called me out on it for the first time, that like I remember calling me out saying, can't read your mind, can't, like, you have to say these things out loud so that we can work through them. But I used to always just move to this place of like, let's find peace before
Yeah.
and I didn't acknowledge those feelings. And so now it is like, how do I express myself in a way that is true and correct to myself without it being kind of what I saw, or when I was growing up, the things that I experienced as like kind of those outbursts that I didn't want in my life. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It does, and I think, it is something that, like, I grew up in a environment where that was not something that was acceptable, and so but then being such a person with such big feelings and conviction, it would, like, get pushed down and then explode,
yeah,
in big ways, and, I do wanna be really clear that, like, empathy can take you from threat mode into reflection mode, but it is not the antidote to abuse, to repeated disrespect, to injustice. The antidote to anger in those scenarios are boundaries, allowing yourself to grieve, taking action, removing yourself from bad situations, being being willing to comfort yourself. Um, that therapists love to talk about going back to your younger self and, giving yourself what you deserve that you didn't get, those kinds of things. Which, is a helpful exercise because, it does allow you to process what you were feeling and then move on. It's also like not always the most comfortable thing to do. So, but the 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 I think it's really important that I'm clear on I would never want anyone to think, "Oh, I should stay in this situation that is abusive, destructive, not good for me, detrimental to my well-being because I need to find empathy." You can find empathy if you choose, but that's not a replacement for boundaries.
Yeah.
Um, you first need to have empathy with yourself. So I do want to be clear about that. Um, so I know you said when we started talking about this that you thought, I don't know if I would relate to this. And then you started kind of reading through and you were like, maybe I do relate to this. So what are some signs that you're suppressing anger?
I think this was the part that was the most like eye-opening to me and probably like some of the um interactions that I have with people. Because anger can look different based on how you have adapted it to your life and to how you show up in your day to day. So for me, I use sarcasm apparently as a way to show my anger and frustration with people. Um, and I think like it takes me back to that saying, like, there's truth in jest. Um, which like now that I've like have gone through this research and looked at it, like it's like, oh, there are times whenever I've said things and people have asked me like, oh, are you saying that because you're like angry at me or you're frustrated with me? And I have the opportunity to clarify. And I think you and I have even had these moments. And I'm like, no, I'm truly just like, making fun or like making light of the situation. But I do think there are times, like I think back to my relationship with my brother, he gets really frustrated with me because I am sarcastic with him. And honestly, I did not really think about this until we were like reading through this stuff. And I'm
Yeah,
like, holy smokes, maybe a lot of like the frustration that he and I feel for one another like shows up differently because we don't want to show up as like angry towards one another. So we like flip it and make it look or feel a different way.
different. Yeah.
But yet we still pick up on the undertones of what the other is trying to say.
Yeah, it's that passive, which I hate passive. I'd rather we just be direct with each other because often the passive makes me feel like I'm crazy. Like, am I second guessing?
Yeah, for sure.
But that doesn't mean that I'm not passive because sometimes I am accidentally. Although pretty much everybody who knows me says you're just super direct. um,
And if they know you, they know that and they love you for that.
yeah, not in spite of, but I
Right.
think because of. Um, you got to find what works for you. But as we compiled this list, like if you're sitting here thinking, I don't know that this episode relates to me, maybe I'm going to turn it off. Just hang with us and see if any of these feel like maybe you could relate to them. I think some of the ones that I relate most to are well, I'll start with like crying when you're not sad. I know that there was a point at which several years ago, I was just crying, and I was like, "I don't even know why I'm crying. I'm not sad," which is a real sign that I'm not listening to myself.
Yeah.
But, like, that could be anger. It's anger, I think sometimes is what comes before sadness, on the curve. So, um, if you are irritable over tiny things, so you find yourself, like, snapping over tiny things, sometimes that's anxiety, irritability over tiny things that happen. And sometimes it's anger that you're not dealing with, you're suppressing. If you feel exhausted all the time because you're, carrying around this burden, sometimes maybe it means you're not sleeping well, like you have sleep
Yeah.
apnea. Sometimes it means you're doing too much. Sometimes it means you're not doing the things to care for yourself. And sometimes it means you're carrying around this like heavy anger that you're not allowing yourself to acknowledge or even
Yeah.
realize. Um, if you're people pleasing, but you're really resentful about it.
How dare you say that? I'm just kidding. But yes, like I identify with that one.
Mhm. If you are snapping at safe people that you feel safe with because, that's the people that you know aren't going to leave you even when you bite their head off.
Yeah, I've been given feedback on that one before too.
If you have a lot of headaches because you're clenching your jaw all the time.
Mm,
Mhm, mhm,
mhm, mhm,
mhm.
mhm.
If you are struggling to sleep because in your dreams you're angry. If I didn't put this on the list, but like certainly if you are having dreams where you are yelling at people, screaming at people, like angry in your dreams, you are not honoring your ability to be angry. You're not finding a way to get it out. And we'll talk about how to do that, but that's a very clear indicator
Yeah, your unconscious is trying to process all of that,
while you sleep.
pent up frustration, yeah.
Yeah. Um, if you are fantasizing about disappearing, I think sometimes we think that that is about being overwhelmed or, unsatisfied. And sometimes it's really just about being angry, but you have not allowed yourself to process through that anger. And so you just want to run away from it.
I do think that's an interesting one because I feel like a lot of, marketing and ad campaigns have really capitalized on that, over, like, many decades around just, like, this idea of escaping,
Take me
like
away, Calgon.
exactly, that's exactly what came to mind for me. I think another one on here that kind of resonates with me is saying it's fine when it's absolutely not
You
fine.
know, I hate the phrase it's fine.
I
It's fine
know you
means it
hate
is
that word.
not fine.
Right, and I think for me, I used to say that a lot, like, uh, I think this, like, goes back to that people-pleasing part is, like, I knew what to say to people to make them happy to like equalize them, whatever, like whatever I needed to do to
Yeah.
to calm down the situation, I could do that. um in more recent years, I have been more purposeful about the words that I use, and so if things are not fine, if I am not okay with something, I try, like, that is my initial "Oh, it's okay. Oh, no worries." Like, those are my initial responses, but then I ask myself, "Are you really okay with this?
Yeah.
Is it really no worries?"
Yeah.
Because if so, it may not, like, you're reinforcing potentially a behavior that you're not okay with.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, okay, so maybe you're feeling like some of these things relate, but you also are saying, "But you know what? I'm managing. It's fine. I've made peace with this anger. I don't want to do anything about it. And you know what? If you're not ready for the journey, then that's something you have to decide for
Totally,
yourself.
yeah.
And I do think that that is part of being kind to yourself, is
Yep,
knowing when you have the time and space, and by time and space, I mean mental capacity and
yeah.
emotional capacity to deal with it. And when you need to put it back in the box, put it up on the shelf to be able to take out later. Um, but if you are wondering, maybe I should address this, but why? Here are some things that suppressing anger like can do. This is why we want to talk about how it can erode your peace and your happiness. And I love the way that we framed this up. Um, when anger has nowhere to go, it often goes inward, sideways, into your body, and into relationships. And so let's talk about what we mean by that. Um, if anger has nowhere to go because you're ignoring it and you're not processing it, it can go inward and lead to things like shame. It can actually lead to anxiety. So if you're feeling like you've got a lot of anxiety, but you don't really know why or what, I mean, maybe you have some kind of anxiety disorder, but maybe also it's like unprocessed feelings,
Yeah,
unprocessed anger that then is creating anxiety because you can't feel a sense of peace because you have this anger. Um, it can create depression, obviously. Um, Low self-worth. If you struggle with self-worth, maybe that is tied to some unprocessed anger because you're telling yourself things like, I didn't deserve better. I deserved this. I'm not allowed to be angry. Self-criticism. If I just would have done these things, this wouldn't have happened. And that's how you process around your anger. Feeling powerless, like there's really nothing I can do. I can't go back and change what happened, but I'm not allowed to be angry about it.
yeah.
and I'm at war with myself because now not only am I upset that something happened, I'm also upset that I have feelings about it.
Yeah. And
So
I'm
when we
sure we've all been in one of those instances before, of feeling one of those things, like, or multiple, if it's been a really bad day.
Yeah, and so my point here is that not allowing yourself to honor those feelings, feel the anger, process the anger is like a multiplying factor of then causing other emotions that also detract from happiness. So
Yeah.
it's not like doing nothing leaves you at status quo. It actually has this like multiplying effect.
Yeah.
And then you just have to work so much harder at ignoring more feelings.
Right.
So if you shove it down, everything has an equal and opposite reaction. um,
It's like a domino effect, and
yeah.
it can truly start to show up in different ways that you maybe would be surprised if you weren't truly like dialed into the situation that you were in.
Yeah. So talk about that. If anger is going sideways and showing
Yes.
up in ways that may surprise you, what does
Yeah,
that look
so if
like?
it goes sideways, it could lead to like gossiping. It could lead to going to people and talking. And usually gossip is very one-sided. It doesn't have all of the information. It doesn't have all the pieces and
It's
parts
like
to
your
truly
passive aggressive way at getting back,
exactly.
either at
You're
the directly or indirectly because you've been wronged. And so other people should also be wronged.
right. It's building your case.
Mm.
It could be bitterness. So like bitterness is one of those things that you just start like adding things to the pile, right? Like, oh, I'm upset at them because of this. Oh, and now they've done this. And now it's this. Like, it just begins to be this pile up effect. And if you're not working through that stuff, it becomes this very overwhelming pile that can lead to a
Yeah.
landslide it's not very healthy
Let let's
to
talk
get
about
with.
bitterness for a second. When, our podcast is a lot about chasing happiness and how do
Yeah.
we live the happiest life we can. And when I think about happiness, like as a child, I think you learn the opposite of happiness is sadness. But as an adult, I think what I've learned is that happiness and sadness can coexist in the same place. I think maybe I would propose that the opposite of happiness is bitterness. Like bitterness robs you of your ability to be happy.
Yeah.
And if you have anger that is undealt with, that turns into bitterness, then it's stealing your happiness.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it kind of like a vine effect, like that kind of like grows up a tree and then overtakes the tree. Like
Yeah.
it's something small and like people will look at it and think, "Oh, that's pretty," or that's like they just think it's this not impactful thing
Yeah.
until it's now killed this tree because it's sucked all of its resources and its ability to have like its life and its happiness. Like bitterness is that way. It can start as something small and you feel like it's manageable and it's not showing up or making an impact. Like you can manage it. But then it does all of a sudden totally rob you of something.
Yeah.
And like that may look different to different people. So not allowing that to really take that hold in your life and in your thoughts and in your feelings is really important. And a reason why it's important to express those things when they do come up.
Yeah. Let's talk about passive aggressiveness. That's a way that anger goes like shows up sideways
Yeah, I think passive aggression is one of those things that it's a way to acknowledge what may be happening, but then we're just like
without
playing it
really
off.
acknowledging it. Yeah. Have
Exactly.
you ever looked back and felt good about something that you did out of passive aggressiveness?
No.
I don't think I have either.
Because usually when you look back like at passive aggression, it's not like people don't pick it up as that way. It's either a joke or it's sarcasm or it's witty or whatever. Like,
Well, like
meanwhile, it's not like, oh, was
b-
that actually feedback that I should action?
being so direct, I think that sometimes my attempts to be passive aggressive are just aggressive.
Full on aggression, no passive.
but but I also think like I don't think I cannot think of a time that I was being passive aggressive and I feel good about it because
Yeah.
then I feel like not only am I being maybe not nice, but I'm also not being authentic about it. like double whammy.
I mean, I think the authenticness is, I think that's tough because if that's like a coping mechanism of yours, then, and I'm not saying that that's healthy, but I'm saying like that may be something you have to unlearn.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. I'm just saying for me, like not only am I not being nice, but I'm like pretending to be nice with the passive aggressive when really I'm being mean. Um and as somebody who's just like prefers to just address things directly because I don't like the mind game of wondering what somebody is really thinking.
yeah.
I think direct does not mean mean. Direct can be very
No,
kind. You can
not at
still be
all.
gentle and direct at the same
Yeah,
time.
right.
But making people guess and like playing the mind game and the gaslighting and all of that, I think that's like I'm just hypersensitive to
Yeah,
that.
it's exhausting. The other
Um,
one is picking fights over nothing, which I think
oh,
is
yeah.
um
Look, my marriage is old enough to drink. It's 21 years old. So if you think I haven't picked a fight over nothing just because I was mad about something I wasn't talking about, we're all lying to ourselves.
yeah, I do think it's one of those things that when we don't feel like we have control over certain things, we will pick a fight over things that we can control and we do feel
Yeah.
like we have a little bit more control of. And that's not really addressing the problem, right? Like that's
Yeah.
just continuing to suppress it and push it down further. And
So
it's not
let's
fair to the person that you're either your partner or your friend, whoever you're engaging with this in. It is
It's not.
masked.
So what about in the body physically? This is something I've been working on with you as my spirit guide through this. What am I feeling physically within my body, and how is suppressing anger showing up there? Um, Tension. If you are feeling a lot of tension, if you are like people grab onto your shoulders and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so tense," maybe that's anger. Um, Not that I've ever been told that. Digestive issues. If you're like, "Oh, maybe I have IBS." I mean, maybe you do, but also like maybe your body just cannot. Like you're pushing these feelings down into your center. I know that feels like ooh, but like there really is a connection between
Yeah,
mind, body, emotion, like it's all connected.
it
Um,
is.
High stress load, and that actually is scientific, by the way. Like the impact of emotional stress on your physical body is well studied and well reported. So don't just take my word for it. If you don't believe it, go look it up.
It's not new news.
It's not new news. High stress load, fatigue, exhaustion, like we've talked about, teeth grinding.
Which I think is like at an all-time high, by the way, teeth grinding.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh,
sure we're all shocked for that news, but
yeah, because we're getting rage baited by social media all the time for views.
what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's true. Nervous system burnout. If you've got like some adrenal cortex exhaustion, like these are real physical symptoms
Yeah.
that impact your physical health and longevity of your life, by the way. Um, if we are not dealing with anger. And sure, could you take pills for it? Yes. Are you going to have to take other pills for the side effects that the pills cause? Maybe that's what the
Likely.
commercials say. And I am not. I'm all for taking meds when you need to take meds. By the way, that's my disclaimer there. But like sometimes we also should be looking internally at like are these physical symptoms the result of something I am not processing? And then into relationships. Sometimes our suppressed anger goes into relationships, and that can look like distance because we're avoiding, because we're angry and we don't know how we feel about it. And we're not working through it. And so we're just avoiding. Scorekeeping. Love does not keep score.
That is the hardest truth to swallow that pill whenever you finally admit you're in love.
I liked it so much I made a t-shirt that said it. Love doesn't keep score.
It doesn't.
Love in the broad sense of like how we show up, loving the world around us and human rights and all of those things, but like also love like in the interpersonal sense of relationships. If you find yourself saying things like, it's my turn now. Um, I did this, and now you need to do this,
Right.
trying to create a scale of balance and equal. It's probably because you're angry about something, but you're not allowing yourself to work through that anger because you felt like you shouldn't be angry, because to be a good partner means that you just always,
You're
flex yourself.
supportive and you
That's
find
actually
ways
not
to make them
true.
happy.
To be a good partner means that, like, yeah, you make space. You don't expect people to be perfect, but you also, have appropriate boundaries.
Yeah.
Because if you don't set boundaries, you're expecting the other person to know what your boundaries are without communicating. And that
Right.
is really difficult as
Yep.
well. Emotional shutdown. So if you just are like not engaging in that kind of emotional, I cannot remember where it was, but I read something or saw something in a movie or something once that really stuck with me, which was like, having a strong relationship doesn't mean you never fight, because if you never fight, you don't care enough
Right.
to disagree or to fight. Now, it means you fight fair and nice and kind. But, like, you gotta care enough, you know? I'm not suggesting I wanna be in a fight all the time or anything like that, but, like, sometimes things are worth fighting for, and you gotta care about it. You just have to
I
do it
think one of the
in a kind
biggest
way.
myths that we've ever been told, whether it's in professional lives or within our friendships or our love relationships, is that there's no friction in those.
Oh,
You
yeah,
just get
go along
along.
to
It's
get
always
along.
happy. Right.
Go along to get along. Yeah, that's a don't do that. They're just shoving
Right.
down. It's gonna blow up later,
And that
and you're not gonna
doesn't
be proud.
and that doesn't help anyone grow. Like, I think that's the part that's, like, frustrating to me is, like, we've said all of these things, right? Because it's to keep the peace, it's to keep things moving along. But what we have forgotten is, like, whenever things aren't challenged, the status quo, the way of thinking, whatever it may be, if those things are not challenged, we aren't trying to change anything. We're not trying to
Yeah.
build upon. We're not trying to, and in relationships, like, I think this is something that I have come to learn over my few years in this relationship with Frank is like, friction is okay, but
Yeah.
what's important is that you're talking about the friction, not that you are letting it just slide by without
Eat
any
at
type of
yeah.
right, exactly.
Well, and so, like, sudden explosions after being patient too long. I
Yep.
mean, that is absolutely, like, a behavior that I can look back in my past, and it was like, you know, that was a learned behavior, but then I couldn't keep it in, and so it would
Yeah.
explode. And then you like you've reached a point that maybe it's too big for you to be able to process on your
Yep.
own. And like that's okay. Like you don't have to feel guilty about that. You just have to understand like for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction.
Right.
And I really believe, even though I want to like go, no, that can't possibly be true. It just keeps proving itself as true. um I really believe that that's true. So you shove it down far enough and it explodes. And so
I do
because
think though, like in when I look back on mine and Frank's relationship, there was a point where like I did like that's what I would do. I would
yeah.
suppress things, explode, let the steam off, and then like things go back. And
And then you have
he
capacity to suppress it again because you've made that
correct.
space really big.
Correct. And so he did a really good job of explaining to me, like, I can't read your mind. If something
Yeah.
is frustrating you, irritating you, like, tell me. And so I've had to find ways to be true to myself in expressing those things, but also like creating the space for us to be able to talk about it because, like, I also don't want to create like anger,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't want us to be like mad at one another for it, but I want us to be able to discuss it. So finding out that way that's true and authentic to yourself. And like one of the ways that I have found is like, um, if I feel like he's being overly critical of me for whatever reason, like if I've made a meal or something, I'll say, and he like says something, I'll say, "Oh, I think what you meant to say is thank you so much for making this dinner," or something like something that like is a little bit, it's direct and it's like
It's a way to set a boundary.
correct, but in a way that feels authentic. Like I'm not looking to pick a fight. I'm just looking to like say, I don't appreciate the way that you are offering me this feedback in this moment.
Yeah.
Like,
And I would just say, like, just be honest with yourself about whether you're trying to be indirect and blow it off or whether you know that the person gets the point.
Correct. If they pick it up, that's what's important, right? Like, is that they
Yeah.
are hearing you.
So, what are some healthy ways to process anger? If we believe that shoving it down, okay, I buy in, maybe I am angry, maybe I have been suppressing it and that's not good for me. Okay, great. If I knew how to do it differently, I would. So what do we do?
I mean, this goes back again. I mentioned the September 11th day, but I go back to that because I feel like that is one of the times
Yeah.
whenever I was feeling angry and I felt bad for feeling angry. Like, and you and I were texting about it and we couldn't talk on the phone because I was at work, but I was like, I feel so conflicted about these feelings that I have, and I'm disappointed in myself for feeling this way. And you encouraged me to really like explore that, like name it and why. Like,
Name it to
why is
tame
that?
it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
The first step is always acknowledgement.
Yeah,
Always getting over denial. Because the more, if you're in denial, you can't do anything about it. So you
right.
got to name it. I'm angry. I'm not tired. I'm not being dramatic. This is really important because to me, it's like easy to label it as I'm just being dramatic. How many times have I called you and said, I'm just being dramatic. I'm crazy. All these things. No, I'm not dramatic. Oh my gosh. I mean, I had talked about this situation I had where I had a a loaner car while I was getting my car fixed, and it was like the perfume smell in it was so intense that it gave me literally a migraine, and yet I was like to go back and ask for a different one, being dramatic. Like, no, actually, what you're doing is being dramatic by not just fixing it. Like,
Yeah,
that's where the drama's coming from. So oftentimes we create drama because we tell ourselves we're being dramatic when we're not, instead of just, saying, you know what, it's okay to like expect a certain, you know, level of something.
right. And
Um,
it's okay to be angry. It is a real emotion. It is something that like can come over us and
it's not
we
bad.
don't have control. Right.
It's not bad. And so if you are not comfortable feeling angry, like you said at the beginning of this episode, I am a little uncomfortable saying that I'm angry, then maybe you just need to say it out loud to yourself. Like, I'm angry, and that's okay. It's not bad.
Yeah.
I'm angry, and that's okay. It's not bad. And you say that as many times as you need to, as often as you need to, until you start to believe it.
Yep.
Because at some point, somewhere along the way, somebody told you that it was bad. And if they can tell you it was bad and make you believe it, you can tell yourself it's not bad and
Right.
make yourself believe it.
Correct.
So, I'm a big fan of, affirmations. And I think that's a really important one. And naming your emotions does reduce the intensity of them because then, like, it kind of sucks the air out of the helium out of the balloon, you
Yeah.
know? Um, you can ask why, what boundary was crossed. So anger often means that something felt unfair, a need that you had wasn't respected, you were hurt physically, mentally, emotionally, you abandoned yourself. Um, so ask, what's this anger protecting? Because anger often comes to protect something. Sometimes I've experienced that anger and holding on to my anger is a way to avoid feeling sad about something. It's a way to not feel vulnerable because something happened that makes you feel very vulnerable and you don't want to feel vulnerable. So you remain angry because angry feels stronger
Yeah.
than hurt. That's like actually probably pretty healthy. If you were victimized in some way and you don't want to feel vulnerable, like that's where anger can serve you well, because it helps empower you. It's just acknowledging it and not suppressing it, because when you suppress it, that's when it starts to eat at you.
And it's okay to say that people who you love and respect and have expectations of did not meet those expectations.
Yeah,
Like, that's not on you. That
that's
is not.
the art of humanity.
Yeah.
We just don't. We don't always have our expectations met, even when they're fair.
Right.
Um, This one I like a lot. Move it through your body, because I am a very, like, kinetic person. I bounce all the time. I am, I process things through motion. And so anger is activating energy. So walk fast, lift weights, dance, even if it's really badly. um, my therapist loves to tell me to scream in the car, and I just look at him like, I am never gonna do that, by the way. I'm never gonna do it. I'm not gonna I feel like a crazy person. I can't like, I may not be able to come back from that kind of crazy. Um
I have absolutely done that before.
Mm.
I have screamed in a car. I have seen on the socials, like, the scream pods that places at work, which, to be clear, I don't think, like, that's a really healthy way of, like, expressing yourself.
Oh,
Like,
if you
to
feel
have
that angry at work all the time that you have
right,
to go into a pod and scream, maybe
right,
there's a culture problem. I'm
exactly.
just,
Just
set some
saying.
boundaries. But, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to work up to screaming somewhere private. Um, Maybe
I
the
think
car
that's the
doesn't
thing.
feel
Like,
private enough.
yeah, and that could be. Like, I do think, like, the idea of it is in private, because
Mm.
it does, like, it releases that. Like, when you just don't feel like anyone can hear you, or that you can even express yourself correctly. Like, I think sometimes words fail us, and whenever we're all up in our feelings, it's hard to express ourselves, and in a way that, like, isn't meant to activate others. And so
Yeah.
just screaming and letting it out, like, that can be a lot,
Exhaust yourself
personally.
through it. Yeah. You're like, "I like this one." I'm like, "I don't know about that."
Personal story.
Might be too big for me to do that. I don't know. Shake your arms out, clean aggressively. Maybe it's some people love to run, and sometimes runners
Not
are
this person.
sometimes runners are angry. It's like, what are you running from? All that anger.
I had a
So
great grandmother who would shake her arms out, and that, like, that's how you would know. Like, she would go like this. She would, like, lift them up into the air and then bring them back down.
that's how you would
Um,
know she was angry.
and so if she was frustrated or
That's
irritated, like, that's how
crazy.
you would, like, hey, what's
No, it's
going
not crazy.
on?
It's healthy.
It's healthy,
I
but,
don't
like,
mean
you
crazy like,
figure,
"Oh, that's crazy behavior." I just mean, "Oh my gosh, I've never known anyone that did that, but that's
yeah.
so cool."
I mean, this is like a woman who was 89 years old
I
when I was like 16, and she, like, thought it was, rude of anyone to chew gum in front of anyone. So
so that she's
her
there shaking her
threshold was
arms out,
very
yeah.
low.
Um, it has been suggested to me, like, take a block of wood and hammer nails into it. I have really wanted to take, like, glass things I don't want anymore and throw them and break them, but you have to do that in a safe space because otherwise, you might, like, end up with glass in
Cut,
your
scratches, and glass in
yeah,
places you don't
it's
want.
dangerous. But, like, rage rooms, it's real. Maybe paint a really angry picture, um, but, like, get it out.
Right. I mean, expression, right? Like, that's part of this, is like, whether it's painting. I think another way is, like, writing in an unfiltered way, like, just putting it out there and saying what
Don't
you
write it in
would.
an email with the
No, 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 no,
"to"
no.
in it. Don't hide your
Don't do that.
stamps before you write it in a letter.
But
Maybe
it's just
burn it
put
in
it
a
out.
fire
Yeah.
later. Yeah, but just get it out. Exactly, like, journal it. I'm a fan of am I a fan of journaling, or do I know that journaling is healthy even though I
It's that.
resent it?
Yeah, it's healthy. Your journaling is very poetic, the stuff that you have shared with me in the past. But yes, not something that you subscribe to.
If the word journaling is triggering for you, and maybe that's it, um, because there is some that definitely is true for me, then maybe it's like, write your memoir, even if you don't intend on publishing it.
Well, I think back in, like, September, whenever you had given me that feedback of,
Mhm.
like, just start writing it down, like, whatever you're feeling, just write it down, right? To get it, just to let it process through your brain and
Yeah.
out of your body. Again, going back to that idea of, like, let it process through your body. And so I did that. And then at the end of the day, I was like, geez, like, I've written a page and a half in a Word document about how I'm
Yeah.
feeling. And so I just put it into AI to see what it would give back to me. And it was like this really interesting, and um it gave me insights to possibly what I was feeling and why. I had never thought of using AI in that way, but in that moment, it was very insightful.
Yeah. I mean, I think the really important thing here is that we we remember that feeling anger does not mean being an angry person. And actually allowing yourself to process the feelings of anger keeps you from becoming that bitter person that we
Yeah.
label as angry. There is a difference between bitterness and anger. And anger that is unprocessed does often become bitterness. So um, I think that is something that is really important for us to remember. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I know that it's been helpful for me. I know that it's something that I talk about a lot as I go through my healing journey and my
Yeah.
journey to find happiness. And I think I just want to normalize that, like so many of us have grown up in this cultural place where anger was something that was not okay. And um, let's just start with normalizing the fact that anger is a healthy emotion. It is a
Yeah.
part of the range of emotions. It has a place in Pixar's, what is it? Uh,
Catalog, universe,
no, like what's the movie called?
Inside Out.
Inside Out. Yes, it has a place in that for a reason. It is a healthy emotion. And as Elsa would say, let it go, but let's do it in a way that's like healthy, not shove it down inside. It's not conceal, don't feel.
Right. And I do think like there's a big difference in like allowing your anger, understanding what is driving that anger so that you can take the proper action. So as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, it's
Yeah.
hard to kind of hear about the things that are happening in the world around us and our community and all of the things.
Yeah.
Um, but let that move you to a place that can help you process those feelings, not to a place where you internalize it, because you have an entire community that is here for you, that wants to support you and see you through it. And so whether that's writing something and sharing it, whether it's being part of an active movement, joining a protest, whatever it may be, like don't internalize that, because unfortunately that has stolen so much from this community.
Yeah.
We can't let it do that anymore.
I love that you say that because this is, I think, a great example of where anger serves. Like anger incites action. And like sometimes you just have to get angry enough to be willing to do something about
Yep.
it. And I'm not necessarily putting that on the LGBTQ community, but sometimes from an allyship
Yeah.
standpoint, like we if we're like, "Oh, but the status quo is fine," then like how do we make meaningful change? But if you look back through a lot of the movements in our history that have gained momentum towards equality and human rights, it's because people got angry and they took their anger and instead of suppressing it, they did something about it.
Right.
Women burning their bras for the right to vote, and Martin Luther King standing up and giving this really impactful speech. I mean, if you don't think that he wasn't angry about what was happening from a human rights standpoint, you have to be kidding yourself. Um, Anger serves. It's there for a reason, and it
Yeah.
can be super motivating, and so I love that you bring up the LGBTQ community because I think, you know, this is a really real and relatable space for us. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
really angry about a lot of the things that are going on, and I'm not gonna try and erase my anger, but I don't wanna shove it down. I
Right.
wanna use it to propel.
Channel it in
Um,
the right directions.
yeah.
For sure. Okay, so my big takeaway from this conversation is no longer provide the feedback of, don't get mad, get angry. Or don't get mad, get even. Don't do that. Maybe let's dig a little deeper, understand where that anger is coming from, and see what we can do to turn it into a productive conversation or actions that will help pull us through and make us
Yeah.
better as individuals, but probably also better as a society.
Yeah. Don't just don't be afraid of your anger.
Yeah.
I think, like, if you shove it down, that's when it can scare us. But lean into it and listen to what it's telling you. And then, you know, make sure that you're guiding your responses to your anger by being true to your values.
Right.
But, you know, honor it.
That's right. And thank you so much for everyone who has joined the conversation today. Jen and I are not therapists. We are not professionals. We are not perfect in these practices ourselves. But we are happy to hear how others experience these emotions and how you work through them. So we ask, depending on whatever platform you may be listening to us on, drop a comment. You can also send us an email at connect@chrisandjenitm.com or send us a text message at 940-278-8129.
Yes, we thank you for letting us share our journey with you. We would love for you to share your journey with us because we are always crowdsourcing more tips and tricks to find our own happiness in life. So definitely join in, share your thoughts, and until next time, be kind to yourself, to one another, and let's make it a great week.
Bye, everyone.